Battlefield is off to a very bad start. But in this video, I'm going to show you guys my best settings for the controller on console. So keep in mind, I'm playing this video is on the PC because it is the easiest to record. I do have an Elgato and everything, but I just too lazy to set it up to do this video. But I have it on PS5 or PS4. I play mostly on the PS5. Honestly, I recommend playing it on the PS4 Pro if you have it. I honestly really recommend it actually to be playing on console instead of PC because, as you may all know, PC is really badly optimized. So on the PC, so it runs better on the console obviously. So here are my best controller settings that I have found. So keep in mind that these are my settings, but this will probably help pretty much all of you guys that are watching it because they're good settings and it's really good to have, especially if you're playing on the controller. I might make one separately for PC, who knows. But anyways, I'm not going to go over my graphic settings, none of this, because remember this is for console only and this is going to be controller settings. Now this Battlefield doesn't feel like the older Battlefields, and I don't know why, but it just feels weird. Something's not quite right and it just does not feel like Battlefield 5, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, etc. Feels very different, and I still have to tweak some settings to kind of figure out what's going on. But honestly, here are my settings, but to each their own. So we could start off by going to controller settings. I leave basically everything on default only because I play with paddles. So I use the paddles to crouch and or jump. So if you just play with the regular controller, you could do like the alternate if you want to use the aim button, the R3 button to crouch. You go ahead and switch it to alternate, but that's personal preference. I play with paddles, so I keep it on default. Global, that's personal preference if you play in vertical or not. I don't know anybody that does. Control vibration, I keep it off. So please, I tell everybody, take off your vibration. Some people like it, some people prefer it, but it just messes up your aim. And trust me, you'll be aiming a lot better without the vibration. Let's go switch over to on foot settings. So I haven't changed my settings on PC because I haven't used the controller on PC yet. So I'm going to do this with you guys. So here we are on foot settings with the controller. I like to have my sensitivity at 35. I think default is very slow, but you can try it out. I think it's very slow. I like 35. That's a good sweet spot for me, especially because I play Call of Duty a lot. So the most basically closest to Call of Duty. Field of view, this is way too high. You want to keep it anywhere between 70, like 76 or 80. So I like it like around 78, 79 is fine. So ADS field of view off or on. I keep it on only because it messes up with my aim because it zooms in. If you have it off, it zooms in so your FOV goes back to like regular, and with it on, your FOV stays the same so that your shots are more consistent and your aim is more consistent, so it doesn't zoom in. Soldier aim assist, keep it all on 100. That's default. Keep it on 100. You need that aim assist, especially on console, especially on controller. Keep that in mind. This is all personal preference with soldier sprint, double tap, but I keep it default because, like I said, I play Battlefield, and that's how I've always played Battlefield from the start. Soldier weapon zoom, keep that on hold. Some people like toggle, but that's only on PC if you're playing with the mouse, but I play it with just on hold because I like holding it. All of these zoom, keybind, steady scope is all personal preference. Everything else is personal preference, honestly. But if you go to aiming, left, right acceleration, you want to move this all the way down to 0. Now with the controller, what aiming acceleration basically is the more or the longer you hold a certain position, direction, like left or right, the faster it starts to spin in that direction. So you don't want that. You want everything consistent. You want your aim to be consistent because it helps with muscle memory. Vertical aim ratio, keep that at default. I keep uniform soldier aiming on. So basically what uniform soldier aiming is basically when you zoom in your weapon, it's the same as if you're aiming it without it, like hip firing. So basically hip firing and zooming in stays the same. It helps with muscle memory, like I said. So keep that on in my opinion. Coefficient, keep it on default. Everything else, you can keep it on default. Vehicles, same thing. Keep your sensitivity high on vehicles. Honestly, I like it like around 45. So for the third person field of view, I keep it all the way high so I could see everything around me when I'm in a vehicle. Because obviously, you know, if you're in a tank or if you're in a helicopter, your your visibility is really low. So everything else default, you want to keep it. It's basically a 1-to-1 ratio so that all the aiming is the same throughout, whether you zoomed in or you're not. All of this is personal preference. All of this also helicopter and controls. Same thing for this one. For vehicles, you want your aiming acceleration all the way off to 0. Keep that default. Keep vehicle zoom aim ratio at default. Uniform vehicle aiming, same thing. Keep that on so that when you aim in and when you aim out, it's the same speed and it doesn't mess with your sensitivity. And that's pretty much it for that one. Controller tuning is basically the same thing. For vibration, keep it off. Everything else, I keep it on default. I haven't messed around with these yet, but if I do mess around with these and I find something that's better than this, I'll obviously make a video of it, and that's going to help you with your aiming. But basically, this is the best settings that I've been able to find. Keep the feeling consistent like the old Battlefields. Another thing I want to go over is sound. I keep my audio mix at 3D headphones. If you have the Astro EQ, I have Astros on right now. I don't really like it. It sounds kind of weird, but you could go ahead and try it out. I have Astros. I like just keeping it on regular 3D headphones. I feel like I can make out the footsteps around me a lot better. Audio and background, I tend to keep this off, but that's personal preference. Indicator, I leave it at default. Enrolled radio music, I keep it off because I don't want to hear any music that's in the background or anything like that. Music volume, I keep it low, like around 20, because it does really bug you, especially when you're in the menus or whenever you're playing a video game or you're in game. It does really drown out other noises, so I keep that on 20. I do like a little bit of the music, but not too much to where it's blasting in my ears and I can't hear footsteps around me. Okay, moving on to the left, we're gonna go ahead and choose display and scroll to the right to HUD general. So show HUD, that's only if you want to do like cool screenshots, and it doesn't show any of the ammunition, any of the things that are in your screen, usually your heads up display. So you can keep that off, so you keep that on, obviously. Camera shake amount, you want that on 50. That's the lowest it goes. I think on the beta you were able to take it all the way off, but for some reason if you even want to call it to full release, you can only put it down to 50. But please, camera shake amount, it's way too intense. You know, it shakes your whole screen whenever there's explosions and stuff going around you. It's annoying. Soldier compass is always on. Vehicle C always on. So colorblind, that's if you're colorblind. So that's up to you. Moving on to crosshair. The crosshair opacity is I'm gonna keep it at 100 so I can see where I'm aiming at. Everything else, I'm gonna keep it. But on my crosshair color, I do like keeping it on purple, so that I can see it a lot better, because if it's white, I can't really see where I'm aiming at, especially if there's a lot of like white images around me, or there's something too bright if I'm staring at the sun. Hit color, I keep it at basically, so I know if I'm shooting somebody, I'll keep it at blue. So I'll go ahead and change it to blue. And then headshot color, I keep it to red, so I know I'm hitting headshots. So let's go ahead and change it to red. Like a bright red is good. And then kill color, I'll set it to green so that I know when I've killed somebody. So let's go ahead and set that to like good green like that. Everything else, armor hit indicator, I leave it default. I don't really care about the armor. Not that many people wear the armor, so I keep that default. But basically, I always change my crosshair colors because it's easier to see and easier for me to see where I'm aiming at. Minimap, everything is personal preference, but I keep it at 100. I like seeing everything. Rotate with view is on, so you can see where you're going. And that's pretty much it for the settings. There's nothing else in terms of settings for console on the controller. You don't really got anything else in terms of display. You don't have a performance mode or a fidelity mode. You just have this. So if this helped you out, please remember to leave a like. And if it didn't, leave a dislike. That's okay too. I won't cry. Maybe I will just a little bit, but that have been my settings for console on Battlefield 2042. See you guys in the next one.